All right, what's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with Natalie Shampay.
Hey, guys.
So, we just got back from the Collinsville Regional Championships. We both played this awesome version of Buzzwole, Carbink, Garbodor. Love this deck. Natalie and I spent all week working on it with our good friend Riley Hulbert, and we kind of just all brainstormed as to what we thought would be an awesome deck for the Collinsville Regional Championship. We all ended up playing it. Both Natalie and I finished in the top 32. I got 22nd place, but Natalie was able to bring it home with a second place finish. So shout out to her and awesome job. First of all, congratulations, Natalie, on an amazing run. So, what did you win? Show us what you won here at the Collinsville Regional Championship.
First, we got this nice top 8 mat. With,
oh yeah, beautiful.
Dawn Wings. That's her name.
Dawn Wings.
Necrozma. And a nice finalist trophy.
Check that out. These trophies are beautiful.
Yeah, they're nice
very
and big,
cool.
too.
Bigger than those old city championship ones. You got a few city championship.
I have two cities.
Two cities ones.
I don't have any regional championship ones.
Very cool. So your first regional top 8.
It's my first trophy.
First big trophy, and got all the way to second place. One turn away from winning.
I was one turn away from winning, man.
So close. So
all right.
amazing job, though. And then how much money did you win?
2.5 grand.
So $2,500. Amazing trophy. We were saying like all week leading up to the tournament that we thought we had broken deck, busted deck. We were so confident that if all of us played it, one of us would finish in the top 8. And Natalie, sure enough, was able to do it. And then what did you win as far as booster box prizes?
I got 3 boxes of Ultra Prisms.
3 boxes of Ultra Prism. Check that out. So awesome stuff. 3 boxes of Ultra Prism. Hard to come by now. We're actually going to go ahead and just sell these straight up to Darium's. And they're going to ship them out to our very patient and loyal fans who have been waiting very patiently for their booster boxes to be shipped to them. So thank you, Natalie, for that. We're going to run through the deck together, show off, the deck inclusion, the card inclusions that we decided to play at Collinsville, and talk about, maybe some cards that were left out of the list and why so, and just show off what we consider to be one of the best decks in standard format. Would you say so?
Broken.
Honestly. Broken.
Like
yeah.
Busted.
I mean, this deck, Buzzwole is a known factor at this point.
He's the bomb.
He's the bomb. Everybody knows he's the bomb.
Yeah.
In fact, you played against multiple Psychic decks, didn't you?
I played 3 Espeon Garbodor and 1 Zoroark Garbodor. I went 2-1 versus the Espeon Garbodors. Actually not that bad of a matchup. It's probably 50-50 if I had to guess. Maybe a little bit favored for Espeon. A lot of the times they don't expect you to play it the way that we had planned on playing it. The Zoroark Garbodor I lost to was very close. It was a little bit harder to play at a slower pace versus the Zoroark Garbodor because they can hit for a lot more damage than Espeon can early on.
Right.
So that was a little bit more difficult. I wasn't sure how to approach that. But the games were all close. I went to 3 games all of my entire series, besides a few games that I 2-0'd somebody. I never got 2-0'd. So all my matchups, even my bad ones, I went to game 3.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Very cool. And as far as my own tournament performance, I played against a Golisopod Garbodor with Trashalance and was able to beat it during Swiss as well. So even Psychic type Pokemon have a tough time beating Buzzwole. And one of the biggest Psychic type counters right now is, of course, Mew EX. Yes. Who gets shut down by Garbotoxin, shutting off Mew EX's ability, which
and Carbink
also can wall against Mew as well, which is awesome. So let's break down this list, and we'll talk a little bit more about how some matchups went as we go. The list starts off with 3 copies of Buzzwole GX. And Natalie, this is your favorite art, isn't it?
Full art boys.
Full art boys, yep.
I scrambled for these before the tournament. I was like, I need 3 full art Buzzwole.
You guys will usually see that I play like some rainbow rares, some promos. I like to mix things up. Nope, Natalie's got a very beautiful looking list here.
I have a very meticulous way of doing things.
She does. We play a 2/2 Carbink BREAK line. We also play 2 copies of Tapu Lele GX, a 2/2 Garbodor line. And note the Trebuchets.
Yeah,
these are the only ones we had. That's the running joke, is that these are the only Trebuchets we had. In reality, it's just fun.
It's just funny.
It doesn't really matter.
We don't play Rainbow or anything, so we can't use any of the attacks.
It really does not matter. And then 1 copy of Zygarde EX. So let's talk about these guys real quick. Natalie, tell us a little bit about Buzzwole. Tell us something we don't know.
Well, I learned that definitely for Espeon Garb, it does not matter if you have weakness if you get a turn 2 absorption on their Espeon.
Oh, yeah.
That's really what swings that matchup. It's pretty crazy because when playing Buzzrock, you usually don't absorption.
Right.
Because you want to save your GX for Dangerous Rogue. But in this deck, you try to get an early absorption and then follow up with a Knuckle Impact. If you can get that back to back, it's like really good.
For sure.
That's pretty much your goal early on, especially.
You even said in one of your games versus a
boy.
Buzzwole Lycanroc deck, you got an early absorption. How early?
It was a turn 1 going second with a Guzma.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
That was the only time I had done that all day with turn 1 absorption.
That is so insane.
he,
with a Guzma to
with
boot.
A Guzma, yeah. It
Oh
was game
my.
2 versus a Buzzrock. My opening hand was pretty awkward. It was like a Nest Ball, 2 Max Elixir, and I started Carbink, I think, or Trubbish. Or no, I started Carbink. And he was going first because he lost game 1, and he put out a Brooklet Hill and Brooklet Hill for a Buzzwole. And I was like, okay, now I can Nest Ball for my Trubbish, Brooklet Hill for my Buzzwole, see if I hit these Max Elixirs. If I top deck an energy, I could really go for it. I had Guzma in hand, but I wasn't planning on hitting anything because I wasn't going to be able to knock out a Rock Ruff or anything like that. I didn't have strong. So I top deck a fighting. I Brooklet Hill and I Nest Ball, and I just go for it. I just play both Max Elixirs, hit them both, and I bring up I Guzma up his Buzzwole and absorptioned it. He was not pleased. It was the only time I had done something like that all day. It was pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was insane.
That is so crazy. So turn 1 Absorption GX, and that's part of the power of this deck. Is you go in early with Absorption GX, you can knock out almost anything in your opponent's field. Anything in the game you can knock out with Absorption GX, especially when you have a strong involved.
Right.
You can knock out or the Fury Belt. You can hit 250 damage so easy. 250 damage as early as turn 1. I mean, talk about you can easily get an absorption turn 2. That happened fairly often.
That happens pretty frequently.
So turn 2 absorption GX with a turn 2 Garbodor with a floatstone on it. That's just a lot of pressure for decks to deal with, especially if you're going first.
Yes.
Turn 2 ability lock, turn 2 250 damage.
It's insane.
And 250 damage with a freight train coming of a Knuckle Impact, and incoming 180 like next turn. That is going to be so intense for the opponent to deal with. This deck could just run an opponent off the board.
I didn't even go close to going to time. No,
it's so crazy.
So a lot of my games ended quickly. Either on either side. Sometimes the deck bricks. It's a Garbodor deck.
Right.
You play a lot of opening. You play a lot of draw supporters, but sometimes you end up ending yourself, or you getting end to 4 or something like that. You end up sitting and not having a whole lot going on. But the deck is so strong that usually you can manage that. Just by having energy and being able to just attack and just run your opponent off the board.
Right. So the cool thing about this deck too, we play Buzzwole GX as our main attacker. We also play 1 copy of Zygarde EX. And Zygarde EX is kind of like that awkward cousin.
It's not that good.
It's not that good, but we couldn't quite cut him either. We considered playing a 4th Buzzwole GX, but that didn't exactly make the cut just because we wanted some diversity in attacking power. We wanted some diversity in weakness as well, even though this thing's weak to grass. Tell me did you use Zygarde at all throughout the course of the tournament?
I did a few times. Not as much as I had wanted to, but I didn't end up playing any Greninja, which was like the main reason we kept the Zygarde.
Right.
Self-Storm is really strong. It's a lot stronger than Jet Punching a lot of the time.
Right.
Because you can take quick knockouts and you don't have to Knuckle Impact. You'd be self-storming. You can self-storm Frogadiers with a Fury Belt, and you can knock out Froakies, stuff like that. Instead of having to Jet Punch, a lot of times you fall short with Jet Punch, and if you have a strong on it to knock out Froakies, they can enhance hammer the strong. So,
right.
Zygarde was mostly for the Greninja matchup, and also to knock out Mew EXs with a strong and can Lance Wrath Mew.
And then you said you used it against Zoroark Break as well, right?
I did use it against Zoroark Break. I played Yoshi Tate in my win-in with his funky Weavile deck, and he had so I was warned ahead of time that he played Zoroark Break, and he did copy my absorption in game 1, and I lost that game.
Oh no!
And I was like, oh boy. So game 2, I went straight for the Zygarde. Lance Wrath is not very good, so but it does knock out Zoroarks.
See, he's just bad enough that he can't be foul played.
He can't be foul played.
Right.
Almost like Andrew's Lucario at his Dallas.
It's the same concept. Yep. So cool. He's able to attack back to back. I found Zygarde EX to be useful versus the Garbodor decks that I played.
Yes,
I could use him
Espeon
versus
Garb too.
definitely useful against Espeon Garb. Definitely used him. I played 2 Greninja, used him against that. I used him to knock out Pokemon with like a decent amount of hit points. Like if you just Xerneas Break, used him against Xerneas Break.
Yeah.
I played a Xerneas Break deck. There's just some weird scenarios you run into where just a straightforward vanilla attacker that doesn't need reset with Guzma is beneficial. So he was useful in some of those situations. Sometimes Lance Pulse hits the numbers you need weirdly because you can actually hit 70 with the turn 1's Lance Pulse if you have the Stadium strong. If Fury Belt, where 60 is all you can get with Buzzwole. So sometimes that's beneficial as well.
Right.
Zygarde definitely made the cut. I had some players that played our list cut Zygarde for like a pseudo Wudo or something. But my main argument was that we needed a fourth big boy. Really, with only 3 big EX or GX Pokemon,
Right.
you could prize one, and then being stuck with only 2 is really bad.
Right.
Having a fourth option of a big Pokemon GX was very useful, not only for diversifying the weaknesses, but also just having another big attacker to load energy on that doesn't get knocked out right away. Because, as you will see later, we are not playing any copies of Rescue Stretcher in here.
No, don't need them.
Don't need it. We played 2 copies of Tapu Lele. Great for early game consistency.
It's really great when you don't prize them. Game 3
It's
of the
really,
finals also.
oh my gosh, Natalie started dead drawing game 3 of her finals. She went for that second Tapu Lele GX, and it was prized,
yes.
unfortunately. So she just was dead drawing.
But
Both
that is
her
the
and her
reason you
opponent
play
were dead
2.
drawing. That's the reason you play 2, though, is because sometimes you need just that extra boost and draw. Unfortunately, Natalie did not have access to it in game 3 of the finals. Who knows how things would have gone if she was able to find that second Tapu Lele. I even sometimes loaded energy and would energy drive.
I did energy drive a couple times.
I don't think I won any of the games I energy drive, but I did try.
I mean, yeah, it's valiant effort.
Sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures, and you end up using that energy drive. My favorite part about this deck
Busted.
is broken Carbink. We've got a 2/2 Carbink break line, and as you can see, we are playing the same Carbink, the Safeguard one, for both of them. Now, tell us a little bit about why we chose to play the Safeguard Carbink.
Right. Well, a lot of people were going with the Energy Keeper one because it prevents you from being like Flare Grunted or what else removes basic energy?
Crushing Hammer.
Crushing Hammer. That's right, Crushing Hammer.
Right.
So like Mildex, they can remove basic energy. But honestly, with Carbink Break accelerating to itself even, you don't really need to worry about that at all.
You really don't.
The Safeguard doesn't matter a whole lot either, but there are some like funny things you can do. Like if you're attacking with Carbink Break for a turn and they have a Mew or something like that, and they get rid of your tool, or you don't have a tool on your Garbodor, they can't hit into Safeguard.
Mew and Volcanion.
And Volcanion EX.
Right.
So there was one turn. I think it was in my top 4 where my opponent tried to energy drive into my Carbink with a Mew, and I was like, no, you cannot do that.
Very funny.
I don't think it would have mattered regardless, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It also has 90 HP, which is 10 more than the Energy Keeper one, and it has a 2 energy attack, which is sometimes useful. How many times did you power gem?
I power gemmed a few times, and
Me
I
too.
know our friend Will power gemmed for the win.
Yeah,
like,
a couple
once.
times. Yeah. I think,
So,
didn't he get his winning in with a power gem?
he
I
was
think
knocking
did.
out like Zaruas with power gem,
gem.
or something like that. Yeah. But Power Gem, being able to hit 60 damage with a strong is really useful.
Right.
A lot of Pokemon have 60 hit points. And the thing is, if you have a Carbink Break, almost all the time your Carbink Break will have 1 energy on it, because if you did use Diamond Gift, it'll have 1 energy.
Right.
So it's very easy just to slap that second energy on there, and now you're Power Gemming, poking something for 60. It's a very useful option to have, where just the attachment of 1 more energy.
The best was when you got to Diamond Gift Zoruas.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. With the strong...
I Guzma one turn and knocked out one with
so
a Diamond
good.
Gift. I was like, oh yeah.
So good. Now let's talk about Diamond Gift a little bit. This is why we play Carbink Break. Diamond Gift is an amazing attack. You get to search your discard pile for 2 energy and attach them to one of your fighting Pokemon. So you could attach them to Carbink Break, which is not something I ever did, but it is an option.
For a mill deck, you should do that.
You could do it against a mill deck if you're really running low on energy and need to make sure that you can Carbink more later. Yep. But usually what happens is that you'll just go for an early Diamond Gift onto a Buzzwole. That is fantastic. Sometimes in a Buzzwole Lycanroc deck, if you have to Ultra Ball away 2 fighting, you are mad in the opening turn.
Absolutely.
You are furious. With this deck, you don't care. You're like, that's fine. I'm just going to go grab my Carbink Break with my Nest Ball. I'm going to go grab my Carbink with my Nest Ball, get a breakout early, and just like turbo load a Buzzwole early in the game. So it's a really nice option to have, especially with Garbodor locking things up, making things awkward for both you and your opponent. You don't have things like Octillery to be able to kind of do like extra draw power, make sure you hit your Guzma every turn. So sometimes you will Knuckle Impact and then just retreat into Carbink, poke, Diamond Gift, and then recharge your Buzzwole again.
Load up a different Buzzwole that doesn't
load
have
up a different Buzzwole without damage.
There were some times, a lot of times I use the Carbink late game. It comes down to it when you don't have the Guzma for game and you end them low and you just need to, put some pressure on. you bring up the Carbink and you diamond gift to a Buzzwole and like attach to another one or something like
Exactly.
that, and tell them, you know, what, we got me. What are you gonna do about it?
If you got it, you got it.
You
If
know,
not, I
I've
have
got
it.
you.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it was just a super good card. I probably diamond gift at least every single series, multiple times.
Exactly.
Like,
now
it's
we
just
considered
really
a 1-1 Carbink break line. That's what I played at Dallas, but we were playing. It was a much different format at Dallas.
Right,
At Dallas,
expanded.
I was expanded. I really only needed Carbink for the Seismitoad decks and Wailord, and also I was playing Brooklet Hill. It was just very easy to get Carbink out into play. I felt like 2-2 with the Garbodor deck. I also was playing a Rescue Stretcher, so that made things a little bit more flexible for the Dallas list. But we're not playing a Rescue Stretcher here. We decided under Garbodor lock, you want just the consistency in numbers. You want to be able to draw into the break. I was talking to Will about this. There was countless times where you'd either Cynthia or Sycamore, and you're like, I need to hit the break this turn, or else like I'm gonna lose. And if you rip it, it's amazing just being able to get this thing set up early. So you always have in your back pocket as an option to do. So 2-2 Carbink break. Really liked it. I mean, he earned his spot, like over and over again. I would have been really upset. I never prized both of the pieces.
I never did either.
I was always able to get out either Garbodor or Carbink. And that's why we're playing a 2-2 Garbodor line as well. It's as thin as you can go while consistently saying, you know what, I'm going to get out my Garbodor, early almost every game.
Right.
Now, there are some of those awkward games. Did you ever have trouble getting your Garbodor out?
There were some games where I just had to forego it altogether just because it was not going to happen. And you just have to change your strategy at that point.
You do. And the cool thing about this list, though, and why I prefer this list over those slower Garbodor Buzzwole decks that you might have seen before, this is like still a turbo deck.
Right.
We are still playing Max Elixir. We're still going very fast. We are still playing Buzzwole can still get a turn 2 absorption without Garbodor.
Sometimes a turn 1 absorption.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, you might not even need Garbodor. No. You might just overrun your opponent with Parallel City and Buzzwole and just run them off the board without that. I mean, Carbink and Buzzwole together combined, really perfect tag team, broken combo. They can really carry the whole weight of the team without Garbodor. Garbodor is just icing on the cake.
Absolutely.
It really is. So that's it for the Pokemon. Let's go ahead and take a look at the supporters. I love the supporter line for this deck. Our friend Riley really helped us kind of nail out the supporters for this list. Play 4 copies of Professor Sycamore, 4 copies of Guzma, 3 copies of Cynthia, 2 copies of N, and 1 copy of Lily. Did you ever find yourself using your 1 copy of Lily, Natalie?
Yeah, I actually turned one the lead for 8, 2 or 3 times in the entire tournament. A lot of the times too, there were a couple times I got end low and I was able to Lily Lily for 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I used every game, but I definitely would have kept it. I think I would have rather had it over the 4th Cynthia.
I agree. Just having that option to go for a very powerful turn 1 draw to 8 is awesome.
There were a lot of games where Cynthia, burns you early. Cynthia burns you because you shuffle draw 6. There's a lot of dead cards in your deck early on.
There are a lot of dead cards early on.
So it was nice to have something different. If I started with it, or if I Lilied for something and I had Lele for something and I had a hand I didn't really want a Sycamore, but also wasn't very big. Lily, especially turn 1, was really solid.
Sometimes you have these hands where you have Nest Ball, Energy, and Ultra Ball, and you can Ultra Ball your hand down, Nest Ball for a Trubbish, and maybe you have a Garbodor in your hand already, so you want to save it, so you have Nest Ball Garb in your hand, and you go for the turn 1 Lily, you Nest Ball for the Trubbish, and you have Garb in your hand already, you draw up to 8, and then you're getting the turn 2 Garb, and you already know it. So there's definitely hands where you don't want to Sycamore, you don't want to discard, you don't want to shuffle draw because you want something a little more aggressive, and Lily is your girl for that.
Lily was great.
Super cool. Definitely would play it. I was actually joking with my friend Andrew Wambolt that I played that I had not done the turn 1 Lily all tournament, but then I did it all 3 games against Andrew Wambolt. So Lily definitely earned her spot in that series.
Yeah, we started off with 2 Lily and 2 Cynthia, and we ended up going to the 3 and 1.
Right, because Lily is a little bit awkward to find middle of the game. I found sometimes I will find her in the middle of the game and Ultra Ball her away. You're like, all right, which supporter could go? Oh, definitely the Lily. Her time is expired. So, how about 2 copies of N? That is low for an N count. But how did you feel about it?
I was fine with it. There was 1 game that I needed an N and I didn't have it, and I don't know if I would have necessarily won even though if I had ended. It was against the Glisspot Zoroark in day 2. He had 3 Zoroark in play, and I did not have a Floatstone on my Garb. He had just Field Blowered me, and I wanted to end him down to 2. but it wouldn't have mattered a whole lot, even if almost I ripped the Floatstone off that end, because he had 3 trades.
Right.
But it would have been a little more awkward to end him into that instead of having that giant hand that he had. And my last end was prized, so I couldn't do that. But otherwise, it never really bothered me any. A lot of the times, like, you do get the turn 2 absorption. You don't want to end yourself after that.
Right.
You know?
That's the thing. This deck goes up in prizes so quickly. It's so aggressive that you don't want to end. There are times where you fall behind early. That happens with any deck. And you do need to have copies of end just in case. But, you know, most of the time, you just want to keep drawing cards. And so long as you keep drawing cards, you'll win.
Absolutely.
4 copies of Sycamore, that's a no-brainer. I mean, the most aggressive, best draw card in the format.
Right. And Sycamore isn't even as bad when you have to discard energy because you have Carbink.
You have
so
Carbink.
It's, you know, not nearly as scary as it is Sycamoring a big handful of energy as it is in, like, Buzzrock or something like that.
3 Cynthia, brand new supporter card. I was not exactly sure how good Cynthia was going to be in this format, but Cynthia was played all over the place. Right. It was great. I mean, I love Cynthia. I found myself falling back in love with Shuffle Draw 6.
I don't know, man.
How did you feel about it?
I mean, I think it's necessary, but I saw Cynthia lose a lot of people games.
I did.
And it lost me some games.
Turn 1 Cynthia into nothing. Yep. Happened a lot.
It happens a lot.
But Cynthia was also so good.
You need it. I mean, there's no better option.
There's no better option.
You know, it's like, you know, I remember people talking about how hyped they were for Cynthia. I'm like, how many times have you end yourself to 6 turn 1 and then lost because of it? Like, you know, I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
So, but it was great, especially at the end of the game. Your deck gets real thin really fast with this. You Sycamore a lot. You play a lot of items down and search your deck a lot. So Cynthia, like, you know, towards the end of the game was great because your deck's like 20 cards. You're going to Cynthia see most of the cards.
For sure. You can preserve things like your Guzmas as well. Your 2 copies of N. Having the option to Cynthia really can save some of your resources for later in the game. You don't want to necessarily Sycamore because these supporters are valuable.
Right.
You know, when they're gone, they're gone. There's no bringing them around. We're not playing Pal Pad. We don't have Octillery. You need to continue to draw throughout the course of the game. So Cynthia helps preserve them and definitely was a nice option to have mid-game to keep your resources high. 4 copies of Guzma. I mean, that is a no. That's a no budge zone. We are not moving from 4 copies of Guzma.
No way.
You really need to be able to set your reset your.
Guzma turn 1 a lot too.
Exactly. Just to jet punch something. You also need to be able to reset your Knuckle Impact.
Yes, absolutely. There were for any of my stream games, a lot of the matchups you want to go for the turn 1 Guzma. They're like, you know, their Zoroas or their Rockruffs in the Buzzrock matchup. Especially you want to knock out their Rockruffs, and the Rem Raids and things like that. Take early prizes. So Guzma's great. It does a lot of things. It's like the one deck you want to see a Guzma turn 1 a lot of the time.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree. Being able to target down things so valuable for Buzzwole, who thrives on that snipe damage as well. Now for the item cards, trainer cards, and stadiums, we play 4 copies of Floatstone, 4 copies of Max Elixir, 4 copies of Ultra Ball, 3 copies of Fighting Fury Belt, 2 copies of Nest Ball, which is a cool little inclusion that we had here, 2 copies of Parallel City. Let's talk about these Nest Balls, Natalie. I mean, we had put these in a list originally. I know Riley was on board with Nest Ball. I was on board with Nest Ball. Had been trying out Nest Ball instead of Bridget in some of my decks because this deck is a fast deck. You want to be aggressive. You want to draw cards. So it's too fast for Bridget, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You don't want to be wasting time with the turn 1 Ultra Ball for Lele for Bridget. What if you don't even have an energy in your hand? You need to start attaching energy turn 1.
No. It's there was like almost no time I ever would have wanted a Bridget. I don't think.
No, me neither.
Like, you know, there were turns where you missed the basic you wanted. You know, that stinks. But like, I think at the end of the day, you'd still rather would want to, you know, Nest Ball and then Sycamore instead of having to, you know, because you want to hit Max Elixirs early, put on a ton of pressure, especially in a deck that's doesn't have a lot of like mid game draw.
Right. And if we look at this deck, I mean, yeah, we have 2 stage 1s in here and not a ton of draw. But, I mean, basically, these are all basic Pokemon we want to get out. That's it. We have 2 stage 1s, or if you count the breaks as stage 1s. Everybody else is a basic. You want to get your Buzzwoles with these Nest Balls. You get your Trovishes with these Nest Balls. You get Carbink with the Nest Ball. Sometimes you go get Zygarde with the Nest Ball, even though, you know, Zygarde's kind of that awkward guy we almost never get.
Yeah.
But he has his purpose. He's there for a reason. Nest Ball searches almost everybody in your deck, and it's fantastic. Ultra Ball can go get your stage 1s, get your Lele's, outs to draw supporters. Fantastic. And then going in line with that early draw supporter aggression also allows you to see your Parallel Cities early. Now, why was Parallel City so good in this deck?
Parallel City and Garb is extremely oppressive.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, honestly, even a turn 1 Parallel versus a deck that doesn't necessarily need a full bench is very obnoxious, especially I found that was like one of the biggest keys in the Galissapod matchup and in the Bulu matchup.
Yeah.
If you turn one parallel them, that's really big. If they don't have a field blower, they're really set up with some awkward benches, especially if they have to lay for their Bridget.
Yes.
So parallel was incredible all day.
And then also the crazy thing is you've got Parallel City, super oppressive. The blue side limiting your opponent's bench to 3. The other side limiting damage from water and fire types, which is good against Greninja and Volcanion. So a lot of decks, and also Bulu. I mean, low key,
grass,
and also grass.
Sometimes I think Will used it a couple times. I didn't though.
So Parallel City, super oppressive. Floatstone on your Garbodor, super oppressive. Fighting Fury Bell on your Buzzwole, giving them a massive 230 hit points. Insane. So now you've got 3 things in play on most turns that your opponent will want to remove, but Field Blower only removes 2. So they have to pick and choose. Usually they're going to go for these 2, leaving the Fighting Fury Belt on your Buzzwole, meaning that you get to rock around with a 230 hit point Buzzwole that is just a basic Pokemon. That is a basic Pokemon with the same amount of hit points as a Gardevoir GX.
That's insane.
That's insane. That's why we played 3 copies of Fighting Fury Belt. Did you ever feel like you were missing damage numbers that you might have hit with Choice Band?
There were a few games where that mattered a lot, but I ended up usually going for just a Carbink that turn.
Yeah.
Or something like that if I could afford it. Most of the time it didn't end up mattering. And the Fury Belts really made the big difference in the Buzzrock matchup. That's what really, like, that and the Garbodor is really what swings that matchup, because without it, you're just a worse version of their deck.
And a lot of the Buzzrock decks are playing maybe one or no field blower. And if they play no field blower, their math is super messed up on trying to knock out your 230 hit point Buzzwoles.
I played 5 Buzzrock, and 2 of them played field blower. 1 I never saw, but yeah, no, the other 3 did not play any, so my free belt stuck, and that was probably what won me the whole series.
Now, what was your matchup against Buzzrock like? Like, how did you end up performing against that deck?
I never lost. Never lost a series to it. I usually went to game 3. I think there was only one time that I 2-0'd the matchup, but you have to go for the Garb early. And
you have to, or else they can Bloodthirsty Eyes, Octillery. It's just a mess.
You have to go for the Garb. You have to go for the Garb early, and you get the Garb up, and you just limit your bench. Don't play into Lycanroc. Generally your board's just gonna be like a Carbink, a Trubbish, Buzzwole, active Buzzwole, or something like that. A lot of the times it could be sketchy. If they hit a bunch of early Max Elixirs, you're just behind. I played against in my second to last round on day 2 against Rithkey, and he beat Andrew earlier in the day.
He did, yeah. I drew horrible versus him.
He knew exactly what to do in that matchup, though. He went for the Trubbish. Went for the Trubbishes, knocked out the Trubbish. He jet punched my Garbodor, and knocked that out a couple times. So that was like the key in the matchup. You shut off their Octillery so they can't Knuckle Impact, and they don't want Absorption if they can avoid it.
Right.
So they're relying on their Guzmas, and when they can't draw into them, it's really big.
So what's crazy is I think this deck has an outstanding Buzzrock matchup. It's really good. It's at least probably about 60-40. But as you saw, our list is so simple. There's no Sudowoodo in here. There's no Mewtwo, right? But a lot of these lists are playing Sudowoodo, Mewtwo, Energy Switch. None of that matters. Garbodor trumps all of that. Carbink trumps all of that. The ability to just juice your bench end to juice your bench with Ability Lock. There's almost nothing they can do to draw out of that. And Carbink, if they don't knock out the Carbink, now you're juicing 2 Buzzwole. Oh my goodness. So it really is just an aggressive deck. I mean, it works just fine the way it is. There's really no need for any sort of flares. We were thinking about, could we fit like an enhanced hammer in here? Or could we fit some techs or some things like that? Really, the deck is just built to do exactly what it needs to do every single game.
Nothing cute, really.
Nothing cute. And that's what I love about this list and why I think it's so successful and why it works so well. Now, obviously, 4 copies of Max Elixir. This, just in combination with Garbodor, is so insane. Being able to juice up your bench early without needing Carbink. You can rely on Carbink later in the game if you need to. You can go and just win a game with the Max Elixirs alone. With 4 Max Elixirs and Buzzwole, you can win a game like that. You don't need anything else in the deck. That alone can win you some matchups, which is totally insane. There was in Natalie's final at her top 8 game against Gustavo. There was he was running so hot, straight flames, and he went first, and he got turn 2 Guzma knockout on a Buzzwole with 2 energy on it. Natalie had hit 2 Max Elixirs turn 1 and an energy attached to her active, and then Natalie went on to hit both her other Max Elixirs, all 4 Max Elixirs in one game. Didn't need to Carbink at all, and just went in and took these clutch knockouts when she needed to. It was totally an insane game. Got into strong Guzma for game when she got into 2. just a totally amazing series. So very cool stuff. I love just that there's no flares in this deck, no tricks up the sleeve. Really, not even a field blower, don't need it.
No.
Not even a rescue stretcher, don't need it. When you play 2/2 lines of your Pokemon, you really don't need rescue stretcher to bring any of them back. So the energy count, same as Buzzrock, 4 strong, 9 fighting. Obviously, 9 is as low as I'd want to go with a card like Max Elixir, but having the option to
9 was
Carbink,
fine.
9 is fine. Having the option to Carbink really makes 9 okay.
Right.
Because you can afford to miss some Max Elixirs with this deck and
Absolutely.
still end up juicing your stuff. So, anyways, thank you, Natalie, for coming on, doing the deck profile
you.
for us. Any shout-outs or anything you want to make here at the end?
Well, obviously to you and to all of our friends, Riley and Will Mantho especially, we all worked on the deck together.
Right.
It was a great time. The tournament was run really well. Shout out to the Cracklers and,
Yeah, and Yeti Gaming, yeah.
They were amazing. It's one of our favorite regionals every year. So, yeah, I was excited, and I'm very excited. I'm very happy about how the deck ran.
Awesome. Well, Natalie did an amazing job. Thank you
So
for
did you.
doing the deck profile with us. Yeah, I guess we both did all right, huh?
Both.
So, you know,
$3,000 deck, man.
it was a $3,000 deck between the two of us. So super cool stuff. $3,000 Buzzwole Garb deck for the weekend at the Collinsville Regional Championship. Thank you all for watching the video. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at NJoyFriend and Natakazam. And make sure to like the video, comment on the video. Let us know what you guys think about the deck in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Peace.